Okay, so let's take a look at the characteristics of life, the characteristics of all living things. This will be a brief introduction here. We did some work last class where you visited a website and you got a list, took some notes there with a couple of drawings, and this is just to add to our discussion. The first thing to recognize for the characteristics of life is that there's lots of different ways to define life. And the list that we're going to look at today is going to be a little bit different than the list you looked at last class from the website. And you see this a lot in biology. But when we actually look at the lists and we think about how we apply those lists to define life, we're going to see that there's similarities between these lists, and that's what we're looking for as we come up with our definition. This is an acronym, H-CREAGOR. And it stands for homeostasis is the H, C is for cells, and we can read the rest of the list here: response to environment, energy, adaptation, growth and development, organization, and reproduction. And again, this is a list of characteristics that all living things display. And some are very obvious that we can see, and some we need to have some special tools to be able to see that. But these are characteristics for all living things. And again, similar to the lists that you looked at last class. So we'll go through each of these and explain what they mean. The first is homeostasis. And homeostasis is a very important idea in biology, a term that you should be able to define and certainly give an example. And the key for homeostasis is this means that all organisms that are alive need to have the ability to maintain some stable internal environment, right? Despite changes in the world around them. For instance, for humans, one of the things for homeostasis, a classic example, is body temperature. So our body temperature, most of us know in degrees Fahrenheit, of course, is that our body temperature is right around 98.6 degrees Fahrenheit. And any deviation from that is problematic. So when we get hot, right, when we're exercising or when it's hot outside, we sweat to cool off to maintain homeostasis. If you jump into the pool in the summertime and the water's cold, you may start to shiver, right? Or you get goosebumps as your body tries to respond to the changes in the environment. Sudden change in temperature, your body's going to have to respond. So again, classic example of this ability to maintain a stable environment. That works for humans, right? The example I just gave. It also works for all other living things. So even something as simple as a single cell bacteria is going to maintain homeostasis. It will respond to changes in the environment to maintain a stable internal environment. The next is cells. This is super critical. It's something that we talk about a lot in class for cells. All living things are made of at least one cell. It is one of the most basic definitions of life for biologists. And so when we talk about living things, when we start to classify living things, we know that those things have at least one cell. For instance, all bacteria, all archaeans are made of single cell. Each one of them is a living thing, and right, rather basic, right, single cell organism, all the way up to complex things like humans, where we have millions and millions of cells. We're living, we're made of cells. Bacteria are living, they're made of cells. So are plants, so are fungi, protists. All living things have at least one cell. Another thing to understand is a little bit of vocabulary here, is we have unicellular, which means single cell, and multicellular, which means multiple cells, okay? So again, our example of a bacteria is a single cell organism. It is one cellular, and then multicellular, more than one. All plants, all animals are multicellular, for instance. Okay, these living things need to be able to respond to the environment, so changes in the stimulus, the environment around them. Again, that idea of homeostasis. Either way, those changes are going to occur as the environment changes. So response to the environment, again, is a classic characteristic of all living things. When it's hot out, we sweat. When it's cold out, we shiver. When you are scared, maybe your heart rate goes up. When you're hungry, your stomach churns. Right? All of these things are response to the environment. Another thing that all living things must do is take in and use energy. Okay, So this is sometimes summarized as your metabolism. So we need food for energy. We have to continually take in food for energy. Plants do photosynthesis. They take in sunlight. They convert that energy to sugar and then use that as an energy source. All living things must take in and use energy. Living things are also able to adapt. So there's a wide variety of life on Earth, and different organisms have different adaptations. So some change in structure and some perhaps function that makes those organisms as a population better able to live in their environment. Okay, so again, adaptations occur in all living things. Growth and development is another critical idea here. So growth means to get bigger. All living things grow during their life cycle. And then development means changes along the way. So a butterfly is a classic development thing, right? You've got a caterpillar, it goes through metamorphosis and turns into a butterfly. For humans, we are born as infants, as babies, we grow, we get bigger, and then in our early teens, perhaps, we go through puberty. There are changes, developmental changes, right? So our bodies change then, and then in our late teens, early 20s, again, there's more developmental changes. The structure of our brain changes, again, along the way. And as you get older, again, other things happen in your life cycle. So growth and development, again, all living things show growth and development. Organization is another characteristic of all living things. So for us, we're made of organ systems, right? So if you talk about your circulatory system, your heart, your blood, your veins, your arteries, your capillaries, all make up a system. That system works in conjunction with your digestive system, with all the other parts of your body. So that organization is the layout, the body plan. And again, true for multicellular organisms, complex organisms like ourselves, but also at the cellular level, we have organization there as well with organelles like the mitochondria, the chloroplast, the ER, the Golgi, all the way down for organization. And then all living things reproduce either asexually or sexually. So again, vocabulary there. Asexual means no, so no sexual, non-sexual reproduction. So single cell organisms reproduce this way. Organisms make an exact copy or a clone of their parent. That happens. We also see with sexual reproduction where it takes two parents, right? So parents that make more organisms that look like them or contribute characteristics to the offspring. And we see this take place again in all living things is the potential for reproduction. Not only do we have the reproduction where we make offspring, we also have cellular reproduction. Like for instance, again, if we talk about humans, if you get a cut, your cells have been removed or damaged, they need to be replaced. That happens by asexual reproduction of those cells, where the cells divide and make a copy of themselves. Okay, so that's a brief overview of H. Kriegor, which is, again, the characteristics of all living things. Different resources will show different lists. Okay, that's a stimuli, right, the bell, and I'm going to respond to that by ending the video. Thank you.